Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new venture in podcasting. You used to know us as Bake and Debate with Russ and Garth. However, that podcast sucked, and we had to rightfully kill it off. We welcome you now to the new podcast, Emilio is Dead.
Creepy.
It's pretty much the exact same show, but with a better title, and who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyway,
Is it still hosted by Gaff and Ross?
yes, your two esoteric hosts who, we'll sit and debate somewhat pointless movies that really people haven't thought about in probably 15 years, or movies that people are thinking about too much in the past 3.
A curmudgeonly point of view, if you will, against our fellow film fans. We are looking to broaden your horizons and get you to stop and think, hey, why do I love Terminator 2 so much when it's really a piece of shit? That's the goal here.
Before we get started on today's topic, I just want to say something real quick. I revisited that movie Killer Joe last night. That movie's
nice.
movie's really solid, man. I've always been a fan, but
You had me scared for a second, Gaff. I thought you were going to say that it didn't hold up, or
no.
it's been a while since I've seen it, but I've watched it at least, I'd say 3 times, and I think it's solid as well. I'm a big fan of that film.
It's got a really vibrant color palette, but like the entire thing is just abundantly sleazy. So it's just just a fun package.
It is a vibrant trailer film. You know what I mean? You feel like you're in that world, that trailer park world. But I get what you're saying. It does. It has it doesn't feel as, it feels alive for some reason. I get you. I feel
one
you.
thing that's always bothered me about it is the incorrect perception of fans that it is not a comedy. Like anytime I've heard someone say they didn't like it or read it, it's generally been like, "Oh, that movie was stupid," and then
If you're
bring
not
up that it's a comedy.
If you're not laughing in the last like 20 minutes of that movie, you have fundamentally misunderstood the entire film.
Well, I have to share a bit of information that I learned from the Blu-ray. Did you know your boy Matthew McConaughey, he himself on initially reading the script, did not get that it was a comedy and did not want to do it. He thought it was just irreprehensible trash. And then it wasn't until other fucking actors were like, "No, dude, that's a comedy." He reread it, got the humor, and then was like, all right.
Who were the other actors?
He doesn't say, but he just said his fellow peers, they were like, "Hey, man."
Gina Gershon?
I don't think it was anyone else involved
Not
in the
in the
film,
cast.
just people he was talking to outside of it. But
Well,
he didn't get the humor initially.
And that's strange, because I mean, that's what myself and I've heard others refer to as the McConaissance, which was like, man, it was a True Detective, Dallas Buyers Club, Killer Joe, I guess the Lincoln Lawyer maybe for some. I don't know. It was basically like, whoa, what something lit a fire up under his ass, and now all of a sudden he cares about being a cool or a good actor rather than starring in whatever romantic comedy bullshit he was stuck in for like a decade.
You remember that fucking dragon movie he made with Bale?
Yeah,
driving around in tanks with
Rain of
shaved
Fire.
heads. Yeah,
I never saw it. My uncle loved that movie. I don't know why.
I think that movie is pretty much to blame for his desperate attempt to get an Oscar a decade later.
Good. If that got us Killer Joe and what's some other stuff? I know you're not a fan of Wolf of Wall Street, and I'm actually not a huge fan of it, but his part in that movie is hilarious. It's the highlight of the film for me.
I liked Tropic Thunder, but that was a small cameo.
I forgot he had Tropic. That's
he's the guy trying to bring in TiVo.
Yeah. I mean, who isn't in Tropic Thunder, honestly?
Tropic Thunder's a good movie. It's also the first time and still the best role I've ever seen McBride in.
Ooh.
The only other thing that even comes close in terms of roles for me is Hot Rod. When he's blowing shit up and he's all jacked up from drinking green tea all goddamn day.
Film-wise?
That's all I've seen. I haven't watched any of his
bad TV.
say,
nah, Eastbound and Down's actually decent. It's not like required viewing. I wouldn't say, oh, drop what you're doing right now and check out, season 1 of Eastbound and Down. I'll take your word
for it. I saw the kickboxing movie those two kids made together, and I'll just stick with that.
Yeah, Foot Fist Way is solid. And I think I'd rank that performance up above Tropic Thunder. I actually kind of even forgot he was in Tropic Thunder until
He
you
is
just
also once
pointed out.
again the dude who's blowing shit up. He's the pyro guy.
Yeah, yeah, I remember now. I'm not. I like Tropic Thunder, but I'm not a huge fan of that film or anything. It's all
I
right.
thought Tropic Thunder was pretty brilliant. Jack Black is the desperate heroin addict. Fucking, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously Downey Jr. in the role that he would. I'm surprised he hasn't been
I'm
shit
not
canned.
shitting on it. I get it. It's just one of those ones. It just personally didn't. I don't know. I didn't latch onto it. But again, I am notoriously hard on comedy. But
Don't you also hate
that
Ben
is a
Stiller?
no, no. Why
Huh,
do you think I hate Ben Stiller?
I remember you espousing that viewpoint at some point.
No, I've always said I prefer cocky Ben Stiller. Like I
Over
prefer
like
like
meek,
dodgeball. I
meek,
like
fucking
yeah.
lame Ben Stiller.
Instead of like Meet the Parents and like he, that there's something about Mary type roles. I don't like him as much in those. Not that he ruins those movies or anything. Honestly, I'm having trouble thinking of any movie he's in that I absolutely love. But like something like Dodgeball, which is just a passable comedy. I prefer those type of roles he does, where it's like the misplaced confidence roles. I think he's funnier to me doing those than he is as like the sad sack.
You see, I'm the opposite way. I prefer a
Really?
miserable Stiller, and I
Nah,
really, honestly, I can't think of any
I
of his cocky.
prefer.
Actually, there is one very cocky role that he was brilliant in, and that would be the nursing home attendant in Happy
Yeah,
Gilmore.
yeah, and I am not a fan of that at all. I've only seen Happy Gilmore once, and that was when I was in an institution. I couldn't leave. That is a fact. That is a podcast fact. So today's
Today's
topic.
topic is going to be our top 43 disappointments in film. Now, these are going to include anything from maybe a specific experience we've had watching a film, like, for instance, being institutionalized and being force fed Sandler. Uh, certain films that we just
Made my condition worse.
certain films that we just weren't big on that maybe they should have fit into other past episode on the old podcast, like overrated or whatever, just things that we feel are disappointments in general. There could also be actors, any number of things. If it's film related and it disappointed us, it can make our list. And like I said, we each did a list of 43. So sit back, grab yourself a nice cold beverage, because this is probably going to be a long episode.
Indeed. And without much ado, or without much further ado, I'm going to jump in. And I guess I should say mine don't go in any sort of order of importance. It's just a random free association, whatever came to my mind first. So there's not one that I feel, we're just going to go down a list. It's 43. Bear with us, people. Number one, Sleepaway Camp 2. I was disappointed by this film. Uh, Mainly, I think at the time, it was just the switch in actresses, Felissa Rose to Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, and it just felt a little flat. It didn't feel as sharp as Sleepaway Camp. And admittedly, Sleepaway Camp is probably my favorite slasher of the 80s if you're going to take away Nightmare on Elm Street. So Sleepaway Camp 2 was inevitably going to disappoint since I'm such a huge fan of the original. Again, it's not a terrible film. I can watch it. It's grown on me a little bit, but I still can't escape that feeling of this isn't half as good as the original. Do you disagree or agree, Garth? Excuse
All
me.
I'm gonna say is, have you seen any other later acting roles from Felissa?
I have not.
That is why you were disappointed she was not into. That is all I'll say.
Well, Bruce Springsteen's daughter, or niece, nephew, whatever the hell she was, didn't exactly set the world on fire and become the next Meryl Streep either.
She was entertaining for what she did, though.
Number two, Batman Forever. Now, admittedly, to this day, I cannot finish this film. I've tried. I was 13 when this came out. The target demographic. I was a 13-year-old boy. This is a Batman movie. How is this boring as fuck? I will never understand it. I've tried as I've gotten older. Maybe I'm just not on Joel Schumacher's level. I don't know what it is. This movie sucks. Everybody hates Batman and Robin. I've actually finished Batman and Robin. I actually can enjoy Batman and Robin's absurdity, but Batman Forever is like in between. It doesn't commit to how corny it is, yet it's too corny to be taken seriously. It's the worst out of all of them, in my opinion, out of the pre-Nolan Batman films. Uh, Definite disappointment. And Returns is probably my favorite, which was the predecessor to Forever. Uh, Gath, I believe you are a fan of Forever. Do you care to chime in on that choice?
All I will say on this one is I agree that And Robin was better.
Good, good, good.
Also, you're going in way more in depth than I am on my list. My list, I literally just listed things and put no descriptions. I
This is
no
off.
description
This is
whatsoever.
off the top. This is a freestyle, my friend. I will screenshot this for you. I literally just have a list and I'm going through it.
Wait, I'm just saying my list. I'm just reading them.
Oh, okay.
I don't feel I need to go that in depth on a lot of them.
All right. Well, should I just do that? Should I go through the list and
Do
then
what you
maybe
want.
do? All right. Yeah, that's fun. Let's I'll just read through my list, you read through yours, and then the ones that maybe stand out more we'll discuss. It is kind of boring for me to sit here and give some assessment about shit that
43
even
fucking things.
shit that even I found underwhelming. Why do you want to listen to me describe how underwhelmed I was? Okay, number 3, Batman Begins. Number 4, The Revenant. Number 5, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Real quick, The Revenant. That was that Leo in the Cold movie, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Let down. Overrated as fuck. Halloween 2018. And I went into this expecting shit, and it somehow managed to be even fucking worse. Jordan Peele's Us is my number 7, his follow up to Get Out. My number 8 choice is Tone Deaf, the latest film from I forgot his name, and
Richard Page Jr.
I'm not I was about to say I'm not even gonna commit it to memory after he ruined
Perfect streak.
his perfect streak with that dog shit film. Number 9, rapper Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You. Number 10, The Disaster Artist. Number 11, Baby Driver. And let me chime in also. Some of these films I'm not saying I outright hate. I just think I expected more. I was let down. A lot of these, though, I do hate, but we'll discuss later. Number 12, Inglorious Bastards. Number 13, Pop Star Never Stop Stopping, or whatever the fuck the subtitle was. Number 14, Wind River. Number 15, Everybody Wants Some, Richard Linklater's film, his quasi-spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. 16, The Green Inferno, Eli Roth's Disaster. 17, Very Bad Things is a very bad movie. Number 18, Suspiria. Fuck Argento, and I'm not even attempting that remake, but it would probably make my list if it did. Number
Quick
19.
note about Suspiria. I'm a fan only because either version, remake or original, very, very flippable. Always worth money on the market. So
Number 19. No one's gonna defend this piece of shit, but and I who's the man? Probably nobody even knows what it is, and that's good. I shouldn't even mention it, give it any goddamn shine on this podcast to the 4 people who will listen, but it's on my list. Number 20, Brian De Palma's The Untouchables, and he is one of my favorite filmmakers. Number 21, Wes Craven's The Serpent and the Rainbow. 22, Toby Hooper's Life Force. 23, Who Gives a
AKA
Fuck?
Species.
Number 23, Who Gives a Fuck's magnum opus The Mutilator. Number 24, Abel Ferrara's Driller Killer, which again I'm a huge fan of that director, and
That movie was absolutely trash.
I can't get through it, and I keep going back. Like, am I missing something? Because I literally
do you just want to
love like
become the killer when the band starts playing?
I don't even know if I made it that far because I don't even get the damn reference. But I'm just saying that literally I'm such a huge. I have a tattoo of one of this man's movies on my arm, and it's like I fucking there's just something about that movie. I don't know. Robert Zemeckis, number 25. Robert Zemeckis's Used Cars, starring Kurt Russell. Overrated and not half as good as what it was made out to be. Number 26. My man, David Cronenberg's Scanners. Number 27, any Star Wars film you pick. Number 28, The Matrix. I would say any Matrix film, but I never attempted the sequel, so I'll just stick with the OG, which gets the most respect regardless. Number 29, Terminator 2, going from a cyborg killing horror film to a fucking McDonald's Happy Meal was a big mistake. Number 30, Back to the Future 2. What the fuck do people love about this damn movie? Hoverboards, cool, whatever. Move on. Number 31, every Disney Pixar movie with the possible exception of Toy Story 3, but I will not be offended if we include Toy Story 3. I'm just going to say Disney Pixar films in general. I am always underwhelmed by them.
Why Toy Story 3 over Toy Story 1 or 2?
That one hit me. I actually am a fan of Toy Story 3. I think that one, I don't know. I think that one is worthy of its praise. I think it's.
Aren't there 4 of them now?
They are, and I actually saw
Damn.
the fourth one. The fourth
I
one
don't think I
sucked.
ever even watched past 2.
Dude, three's good. Like three's actually, I cried. Three.
Yeah, I'll
Dude, it made me
I'll take
fucking
your
cry.
word on that one.
All right. Number 32, and this film debuts this Friday, so make plans this weekend to not go to your local multiplex. Doctor Sleep. There is no way in hell this is going to be good. And as bad as I know it will somehow manage to be even worse.
And as low as your expectations are, I can guarantee you will watch it.
No, I won't. I swear, I am not. There's no reason. I've read
No
the book.
force on earth will make you watch it.
Nope. I've already told my girl she has an interest in seeing it. I flat out told her I will not see that in the theater. I will not watch it on video. No, I love The Shining so much. I did read the book when King debuted this piece of shit a couple years ago before, it was announced as a film. And even the book sucked. So why am I going to fucking waste time with, we're going to make this book mash up to the original masterpiece that King hated to begin with. Like, fuck this movie. I have nothing. No. Number 33, Lord of the Rings. Take your pick. They're all boring as fuck. Number 34, Akira, my first and last venture into anime. Number 35, The Usual Suspects. You could really put any Bryan Singer film as my number 35, but The Usual Suspects gets a bit of respect, and it's it's underwhelming. It's a dumb movie. The same could be said for my number 36 choice as most of Ridley Scott's filmography, but I decided to center on Gladiator, which is boring. I never understood what people saw in that film.
People actually like that? Like, I know it won awards, but
Dude,
people actually still enjoy it?
I know people who like it. Yeah. Number 37, Garth's boy Martin Scorsese, The Departed. I'm going to say it's not a bad movie, but it was underwhelming. I've seen it all before. Nothing new here. Number 38, Guy Ritchie's filmography. Seriously, come on. Number 39, any Die Hard sequel. Take your pick. None of them are worthy of existence. Even the one, I should say, part 2, that is semi-enjoyable. Still never needed to be made.
Part 2 was worth it just for the PlayStation 1 video game.
There was a PlayStation 1 video game with
There was a
Die Hard
PlayStation 1
2?
video game of all 3 Die Hard films, but the second game in particular was brilliant. It was an on-rail shooter where it was just going through an airport and you were just taking out terrorists, and it was great.
I had no idea that existed. And
Do you remember the old Area 51 arcade?
From like the 90s?
Yeah, where you had the gun and you shot at it.
Yeah.
It was that exact gameplay, but you're in a fucking airport and it's terrorists.
That actually does sound kind of badass.
It's awesome.
But we should have made that game without the Die Hard connection. I will not give it credit. Number 40. Number 40, Big Lebowski. Again, not a terrible movie, but the way people talk about it, if you're going to go into it for the first time, there's a
religion based on
Yes, you are not going to get what you're expecting. The cult around this movie, Number 41, The Truman Show. Another one I don't feel is half as good. I was underwhelmed with it. The reputation didn't hold up to...
Doesn't the fact that The Truman Show basically became true about all of us kind of give it some credit with you?
No, because it's almost a positive movie about that. It's almost like one man discovered it and is going to walk away. Fuck you. I don't want this future. I don't want this reality. Don't make this whimsical. This is a horror film, like shit. Number 42, Knocked Up. I was one of the only people when I first saw this film, and I was a fan of 40-Year-Old Virgin. 40-Year-Old Virgin was too long, but it's still pretty solid. I went in and knocked up, skeptical of Seth Rogen. He eventually won me over, but not with this film. Uh, Going back to what I started off saying, I actually remember when I saw this in the theater, and I was drunk and high, and I still walked out of that movie feeling bad for Katherine Heigl's character. Like the movie had the opposite effect on me, where I just felt bad for this poor woman who's going to be attached to this fucking loser for the rest of her life. Like I don't understand anything how that movie can be perceived as romantic, funny, human, redeemable. Fuck that movie. 43, my last choice for underwhelming. And again, I've only seen this once when it debuted, and that will be Scream 3. It put me to fucking sleep.
I will say on the Scream 3, rewatch it for the Jay and Bob cameo.
I remember that.
The
'cause
Jay
that
and
occurred
Bob cameo
before I
is
fell
better
asleep.
than anything that will happen in Reboot, guaranteed.
Sadly, that's probably true, but that doesn't make it any better in Scream 3. Nah.
The
I don't know.
Scream 3 crossover also gave us the Scream 4 parody in Strikes Back, so I mean, come on. See, wasn't Wes sitting there counting money while they were shooting too?
Nah, dude, that was Gus Van Sant. That was the good.
Okay, yeah, that was.
And
What
yes,
was Wes
that is
doing? I
awesome.
remember I remember the killer
I
was a
don't
monkey, but I thought there was some gimmick with Wes doing something.
even remember. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. But I did always the Good Will Hunting 2 hunting season was always one of my favorite parts of that movie. and
Applesauce,
and it's
bitch.
yeah, and it's funnier. Like Wes Craven counting money could be funny, but Gus Van Sant counting money is funnier because Van Sant is definitely more of an art house. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was a great bit. But I don't know. Did any of my choices surprise you, or did you disagree with any of them? What are
There
have
were a
any
few I
thoughts?
disagreed with, but not
Right?
enough to really get into. But I will say there were a few that crossed over onto my list, so that doubly fucks them in this podcast eyes. So I think that's pretty funny.
It's almost like we're close enough friends to do a podcast or something because we share similarities. It's weird. All right, man, go ahead. I'm gonna let you run through unless there's something that strikes me as completely egregious that I have to address in the moment. I'm just gonna let you read through and react afterwards.
I might add a comment or two, but I'm definitely not gonna
Go
go
ahead.
as in depth as you did. All
I
right,
was about to
number
say I
one.
was long-winded as fuck. Go ahead.
Number one, the Texas Chainsaw remake. Anytime Michael Bay is profiting off another better filmmaker's work, it's disappointing. Number two, Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh,
Number three, Bill and Ted 3. It's early, I know, but it's still too fucking late.
can we go back to Fury Road for a second?
Certainly.
If I would have thought of that, that would have been on my list. God, what is wrong with people?
Have you ever seen Beyond
I
Thunderdome?
couldn't. Yes. I couldn't finish Fury Road. I
Did you
turned it
finish?
off.
Then did you finish
I
Beyond
have
Thunderdome?
finished Beyond Thunderdome. Tina Turner and all. I have I have finished Beyond Thunderdome.
That pretty much sums up
Yes.
everyone's thoughts that should exist on that
and that
movie.
and that one's particularly baffling because you know what, it looks nothing like the originals. There's no, it looks like a fucking video game. I don't understand the, I don't know. Go.
There was a video game that came out at the same time, and it does look exactly the same, and it did suck as well. They
Dude,
managed to make Mad Max boring in a video game.
I know, how the fuck do you do, keep going, man, because we're not going to devote this to Mad Max.
All right, number four, Tara Reid, just overall everything fucker. Number five, The Dark Knight trilogy. I didn't just go Batman Begins. That's the one you listed, right? I
Yes.
listed them all, the whole fucking trilogy. It's boring. It's just fucking Nolan's idea. It's like it's his audition for fucking the Bond franchise.
While
Anyway, go on.
I was gonna say, while there's definite issues with the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, I knew what I was getting into with that. Like, I wasn't underwhelmed with what I
Because
saw.
Batman Begins had already set the pace.
I got what I expected out of those. Whereas Batman Begins, there are so many people who were trying to sell me that this is like so great and all that. And look, I'm not a comic book guy, but like I remember watching it. Like, am I watching a fucking ninja movie? I know that's part of the backstory, whatever. But it just it was
The
boring.
ninja elements
There
were
was like
probably
no
the only
bat.
element that was decent in that movie.
Yeah, maybe I
And
don't know.
that's mainly just because Liam Neeson.
Yeah, but like I said, everyone hyped that one up for me so much that I was underwhelmed. Whereas when I went into Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, I kind of knew what to expect, so it wasn't a you know. Go ahead.
But my number 6 choice, Inception. I don't understand any of the hype around this movie. It gave us even a subpar South Park parody. Like even South Park couldn't improve upon the formula.
Didn't they bring Freddy Krueger in
Uh, did they in that one? They might have, I believe. Yeah.
at like the end of it? Yeah.
The only thing that was good about that episode was Trey Parker redoing the
The
music.
music, yeah,
Yeah.
that was hilarious.
But that brings me to my number 7 choice. Pretty much every Christopher Nolan film. I've never seen a film from this dude that wasn't pretentious as fuck and boring.
You teased us with 5 through 6 to get to number 7.
I had to fill some time somehow. Number 8, Martin Scorsese. See my description on Christopher Nolan.
Good. At least you didn't give us like 8 Taxi Driver, 9 Goodfellas, 10 Martin Scorsese.
Maybe I'll do 45. All right, number 9, Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier. Number 10, The Omega Man, the one with Charlton Heston. I know there's a couple of cheaper, like straight to DVD versions now, but I'm talking about that 70s one. Heston on a dirt bike.
Gotcha.
11, Rollerball, also the old shitty original.
You know,
I wouldn't give many points to the remake Rollerball either, but
I've actually never seen that. That's like one of those kind of classic cult type movies I've never
yeah, I
got around
wouldn't.
to.
I wouldn't. 12, Yoga Hosers. 13, Jaws 3, aka Jaws 3D. Number 14, Return of the Living Dead 2. Number 15, Tourist Trap.
I'm gonna come back to it. Dude, you know it's hilarious. I have my laptop in front of me. As soon as you said Tourist Trap, I like went right to it. Like I'm typing out Tourist Trap. Like I gotta come back to that one.
Number 16, it's technically 2 films, Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Fair.
That was the first time I watched a Tarantino movie where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's fair. And you know it's funny. I like Kill Bill more than I do Inglourious Bastards. That's why I went with Inglourious Bastards. But same. I think that was when I went to the theater and everything. I'd seen Jackie Brown in the theater. I remember that was the first one where I wasn't like completely enamored.
I remember I actually saw a bootleg of it originally, and I remember when the anime scene come on, I actually thought that someone had just spliced footage in. I was like, is this supposed to be there? No, I guess Tarantino's just really drunk.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair selection.
Number 17, The Curse of the Jade Scorpion, which is the only Woody Allen film I've ever seen, yet it was still somehow extremely disappointing. Number 18, Freddy vs. Jason, which, like you on your list, isn't one that I outright hate, but compared to what it could have been, it was a fucking massive, massive disappointment.
We'll stop there for a second. Again, not that I am suggesting that Freddy vs. Jason is some unsung masterpiece, but when you say what it could have been, I know you're very familiar, as I am, with the history of that film and how long it took to get made. And I've always argued this. I've heard people like, "Oh, Camp Crystal Lake is right down the street from Elm Street." Like, it's Freddy vs. Jason. What the fuck are people expecting from this film?
Well, one thing, I'm expecting them to actually acknowledge the backstory of Jason, not just retcon it. He has never been frightened of water until I think in 8 they loosely reference it with him with the drowning flashbacks, but they straight up have him just be completely terrified. They watered down and ruined his backstory. They got a shit actor to shitly act him. He's a he's the worst Jason by far. If you watch when he kills, I believe it's Trent on the porch, He kills his dad, then his head flies off. You watch when he lifts his arm up, you literally see him swing the machete, and then full stop. You see his arm reverberate, the vibrations back from a full stop, and then they cut to the blood splatter. Now, that could also be blamed on Ronnie Yu or the editing, but either way, they allowed it in. It's fucking horrible. It was a massive disappointment. They said, fuck you to Kane Hodder. They disrespected where it came from. It was pretty much just a fucking Freddy movie, and
Yeah.
I did.
And I was just about to say, I'm a Freddy fanboy. So I think that all those elements you just described, I completely overlooked because Friday the 13th is not like, it's not even.
And I know we've talked about this before. The Freddy as the weed smoking caterpillar. Disappointment. You want to really see a CGI Freddy?
No, but I think it's in line with like the that like penis demon looking thing from 3, or the Spencer scene in Freddy's Dead. That actor, that's terrible in Freddy vs.
Knockoff Jason Mewes.
The knockoff Jason Mewes, that's irritating as hell. But that actual caterpillar scene, I think that's in line with the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and I think it's in line with what films looked like in 2003 when that came out. So it doesn't bug me. But yeah, I never really thought about the Jason elements because I'm not as passionate. I never cared about Jason. So all that stuff in the film.
The only benefit I can give to the way they handled Jason was the actress they got to do the mom was decent.
I don't even. Did she look like, what is it, Betsy Russell?
I don't even think she looked decent, but she just wasn't horrible.
Isn't she in the beginning or something?
Yeah, the very beginning. It's Freddy as her waking Jason back up.
That's right. I still, though, I mean, with your gripes about Jason aside, as a film, what could have been better besides treating Jason with respect, which is a worthy sin to be on your list.
Besides having a competent script that respected the characters, better acting from every single person involved, with the exception of Freddy. He's Freddy. He's the only one who didn't completely suck shit in the cast.
The acting was on par with what has come before.
Okay, but I'm also including Jason's acting. As I said, he's the worst Jason to ever appear, and I'm even including like when Kane Hodder was just on like Arsenio Hall in full makeup. He was better there than this guy was with a full production behind him. That's pretty bad.
I don't even remember what the guy's name is.
Ken Persinger. He also played one of the mutants in Wrong Turn 2 and 3, I believe. He actually played Jason in an earlier, I believe it was either Ghost of Hell or the New York one. He played a quick stunt shot where he's tossing a guy across the bar or some shit. But he actually had some crossover with Kane before.
Even as somebody who is not passionate about the Friday the 13th series, the name Kane Hodder is like synonymous with Jason for me. So I can completely understand why that is a major gripe.
And if you remember, their big reasoning was supposedly they wanted a bigger height difference, and then they still put Ken Kersinger in like 4-inch platform heels.
Huh.
So it's like, what the fuck?
They could have done that.
Kane Hodder's not a tiny man, and also the Hobbit was out at this time. They could just CG shrink Freddy 2 inches,
I never thought
really
about
that worried about it.
I never thought about how that movie is kind of insulting to the Friday fans.
It absolutely is. It's a New Line production for
that makes me like it even more now. Fuck.
But, all right, that brings me to my number 19 choice, which is another crossover from yours, Star Wars Episode 2. That was the first time I watched a Star Wars film where I was like, I don't really know if I want to be doing this anymore.
Good. I hope you stuck with that.
Number 20, Serenity and the TV show crossover Firefly. It's worthy of a one-time viewing, but if you try to revisit it, it's just dull.
It looks like Joss Whedon's Star Wars, so I never even attempted it.
I mean, it pretty much is, but...
And that's more of a diss to Star Wars than it is Joss Whedon. Because I actually like the Buffy series. I actually like that shit.
He told a funny anecdote on, I believe it was one of those. It was either that or the Avengers disc. He told in some special feature, his dad was a big TV writer on the Golden Girls and shit. He's writer producer. Anyway, he talked about how you always want to have a group of characters. Yeah, so that way, whenever you run into a wall, you can just fucking cut to someone else, a reaction shot or something. And then if you pay attention to Joss Whedon's filmography, yes, everything he does is an ensemble piece.
Oh god, yeah. If you've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, don't think of the movie. It's not about Buffy. It's like a whole ensemble piece. Yeah. All right. What's your
My
next
number
choice?
21 choice, Morgan Freeman. Just
Mm.
everything about him. I've never enjoyed him. I know people think he's like I guess endearing or charming. I've never got that. He's just old. I don't know.
Have you
He
ever
doesn't give off any real charm to me.
have you ever heard of Maddox?
The internet guy?
Yeah, like best page in the
Yeah,
universe
yeah.
guy. Every time I hear I like hear Morgan Freeman referenced, I think he like ran it on him one time, and he was he did this size comparison of how big his nose is to something else. But basically, the how he summarized it was that Morgan Freeman looks like someone smashed a potato on his face and he left it there out of spite. And I always think of that quote whenever I hear Morgan Freeman's name. I found it funny, Garth. God damn it. I'm sorry. Keep going. Shit.
Uh, where well, that was 21. Yeah, 22. Scream 4. I believe I've only sat through it twice, and I mean, yeah, they brought everyone back, and I mean, honestly, you can't rag on it too hard because I mean, Wes was literally dying of a brain tumor at the time,
Yeah.
but
I've only
it
seen it once. I don't even
it,
remember
it,
it.
wa- it was a lackluster 4, and it didn't need to exist.
Yep.
Number 23, Basket Case.
Let me take some notes here.
Number 24, uh, actually having sat through The Hot Chick, starring Rob
Oh,
Carrot Schneider.
that's on you, my friend.
Number 25, any Superman film past the second one, so Superman 3 onward, including reboots and remakes and all that.
I completely agree.
Number 26, Guardians of the Galaxy.
I disagree, but what's your reasoning for that?
It was like, again, with a number of these, it was the first James Gunn film where I was like, I really don't know if I want to keep watching these.
Gotcha.
He had made Super. He had written Romeo and Juliet. He was in
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger 4.
Slither.
Everything he had been involved with up until that point, at least that I was familiar with, I was a fan of. Then I saw that one and I was pretty hyped because I got to see Stan Lee and Lloyd Kaufman in a movie, which is the only highlight I can give the film. And that is the scene that I watched until when I saw Lloyd and Stan.
The
And
jail scene.
yeah, when I saw that, I shut the fucking movie off because I had gotten everything I needed out of it.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm normally known for ranting on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I'm actually a huge fan of Guardians of the Galaxy. Um,
I know everyone
I
loves the
get.
soundtrack, and I can't stand it. Every song in that movie just
Yeah,
pisses me off.
honestly, most of the songs in that movie I had already known, or not only known, I mean, but I associate them with other movies. You know what I mean? Like, isn't there like they played the Runaways Cherry Bomb in one part, which I associate more with Dazed and Confused. Like, it felt like a greatest hits of other hip movies in a way. I'll give you the soundtrack bit. Uh, but what I was gonna say is the one thing I do agree with you on, and I complain about this a lot with the sort of Hollywood machine and the Marvel Disney machine in particular, is that you know you had James Gunn, who was a promising and good filmmaker on his own, and now what has he done since Guardians? It's all comic book shit now, and it's
He
all
he produced he
it's
produced my next choice,
what is that?
my number 27 choice, The Belko Experiment.
I didn't even give that a chance.
It's a on paper it's a mildly decent concept, but it's for like a short in an anthology film or just a background element in a movie, not a full blown 90-minute film. Workers get a microchip implanted in their brain. If they try to leave, their heads explode,
Yeah,
and then shit goes crazy in the office. So it's just
it's
stupid.
Office Space, but edgy.
That was literally the tagline. Office Space
Holy shit, was it really?
crossed. It was like Office Space crossed with Dawn of the Dead or some bullshit or Evil Dead. It was Office Space crossed with something, but they literally reference Office Space in a quote on the packaging.
Hollywood, if you're listening, call me, and I know
Number
you are.
number 28, Hatchets 2 through 4.
I've never seen them, but I do believe one Miss Danielle Harris debuts in part 2. So I'm going to give the edge to part 2.
Yeah, see the recasting is one of the biggest complaints about it.
Oh, it's a recast?
The actress from the original film was actually one of the only decent actors in the film, other than Kane Hodder. And then I don't remember what it was. I think it was just the fact that Adam Green got the opportunity to work with Little Eyebrow, so he was just like, "Fuck you," kicked her to the curb, brought Brow in, and then she just
Dude,
stuck for the rest of the franchise.
he totally wants her.
Well, duh. He saw that
I
episode of
mean,
Holliston. He
I
wrote
know
that.
it's he wrote that. It's like hasn't and she's done other things. She's been in other movies that he's done too, hasn't she?
I don't know.
Wasn't she in like that? Was it like See No Evil or Victor Crowley? I don't know much about
Victor
that dude, to
Crowley
be
is Hatchet
honest.
Part 4.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
fourth
I
Hatchet
told
film.
you that my knowledge of Green, whatever the hell
Victor
his name
Victor
is very
Crowley
limited.
is the killer in the Hatchet films.
That's right, because I've seen part of Hatchet. Isn't like No, isn't there like an alligator in the beginning of it or something?
There are alligators in it, and Tony Todd is in it.
Yeah, I was but some icon was in
Tony
it. I
Todd's
remember
in. I think
watching.
he's in all three. He's in the first two, but he
Was
packed.
England in the first one?
I don't believe so, but I know he super packed part two with a bunch of stunt casting. Lloyd has a cameo. R.A.
It's okay.
Mihailov
I don't like that,
from
honestly. That always
Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw 3. Yeah, number two is nothing but stunt casting. Tom Holland might be in 3. I don't remember.
yeah, it
2
takes me
and
out.
3 are just nothing but stunt casting, though.
If it's like a quick little like a nod, I don't
No,
mind it. But if
it's
it's
pretty
like
much the
that,
entire cast.
come on. Like what am I watching? You know, a movie or like a fucking high school reunion? Get the fuck out of here.
All right, my number 29 choice. Any Halloween sequel from 3 onward, including remakes and reboots. I know we had a Halloween 6 episode planned on the old podcast, but after revisiting most of that movie, I realized how fucking horrible that movie was and how fucking horrible everything after it was and how I just didn't give a fuck at that point. And so I just sold them all off and said, fuck this franchise. 1 and 2 is all I will ever need. I'm never going to see any of the others they make. I don't ever want to revisit any of the other terrible sequels. They're all lame.
As a fan of the series, I will say, I don't. You're not off base.
Even though I know you like part 3 and 4, you
Yeah,
have to admit there is a definite drop off after part 1 and 2.
I
I
would
know
say
you're not
after
that big.
one.
Yeah, I know you're not that big at 2 either.
I
But
mean,
even still, there's a definite quality drop from 2 to 3.
yeah, I mean, I'm ultimately one of those guys where I don't think any sequels to the original are necessary, but they exist. And but yeah, then that's why I'm saying I'm not particularly offended by you choosing that.
All right, my number 30 choice, The Exorcist. I hear you typing your note now.
You're damn right you hear me typing.
uh, well, real quick about The Exorcist. Every single time I've tried to watch this, even from when I was a child, nothing about it is horrific. Nothing about it is entertaining. The entire fucking, what is it, hour and 45 minutes? It feels like
Oh no, it's over 2 hours.
it feels like I'm sitting in church. I'm just getting preached at. There's preachers, there's sermons. It just like you're going to hell. It just the entire thing feels like fucking suffering through an hour and a half, whatever, 2 hours of church.
It's actually
And
the opposite, dude. There's no preaching. The whole thing is about doubt. The main character is a preacher who's doubting it all,
yeah,
and
but
that's what's going on.
in the end he wins.
It is, but I mean, I'm not religious at all. I hate religion. But for the film, you have to believe for the caveat of the film. So it makes sense and it is very well done. It is a classic. It is horrific. I don't understand this Reddit, like these younger people are like laugh at it and all that at the end. The gore, the effects, you don't respect that?
No,
No,
none of it.
not
They
even
sprayed soup. Wow.
sprayed soup. What about the scene like when she first goes up? The first, and I don't care. I'll just say one thing about The Exorcist. One of the most brilliant things about this film is around the 45-minute hour mark. And what it does is it's kind of like what Psycho did with like switching the main characters. There's this great thing that happens.
Also a pretty big disappointment to me.
Get
Psycho.
the fuck out of here.
I don't
Let
respect
me
the
get back.
classics.
Let me get back to The Exorcist, though. What is one of the brilliant things about The Exorcist happens about the 45-minute hour mark, and that is there's noises coming from the bedroom. So far, we've seen the daughter like get like piss on a carpet, going through some medical tests. We're not sure what's really going on. When Ellen Burstyn goes into the room, She's masturbating with a bloody crucifix. Shit's flying everywhere. She's telling her mother, lick me, lick me. Grabs her head, thrusts it down to her crotch and all that, and then it just abruptly cuts into like the next, like, what the fuck do we do? That scene is so brilliant because I don't care who you are. At that point, you were watching a drama about a family unfold, all this stuff. That happens, and it goes right back to the drama. You are subconsciously, you are on the edge of your seat because you don't know what the fuck is going to happen. Like, if that is your hour mark,
I
that
am
scene,
literally falling asleep at you describing this right now.
if that is like your first kind of big scare and we still have the rest of the movie to go, you're on the edge of your seat for the rest of that film. That's a classic.
If you take an
Friedkin,
hour to get to your first scare in a horror
you're
movie, I am
building
not watching your
character.
horror
The
movie.
drama is part of why that movie's great. Nah, we'll disagree.
It is a massive disappointment.
It is a
Nothing about it is entertaining.
masterpiece. It's
Nothing
Friedkin.
about it is entertaining.
And look, I'm not a Friedkin fanboy. I can name some films I'm not a fan that are beloved of his, but The Exorcist is deserving of its classic status, hands down.
I disagree. Anyway, 31. The Spawn reboot. I really don't want it to happen. I don't care who's cast in it. It's going to be bad regardless. Number 32. The 12 Chairs. Sorry, Mel Brooks. You had to have one on here. Number 33. The film Alligator never getting a proper release.
Is that the Robert Forster movie?
Yes. Sewer Gators versus Forrester.
Were you telling me about that recently? Something.
Yes.
Okay.
I mentioned it on one of the old pod episodes.
I was about to say, how am I aware of this?
But number 34. South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Wow. I'm just fucking around there. I was just seeing if he was still listening.
You son of a bitch.
Number 35, another crossover from your list, the Lord of the Rings movies. All of them. The games are entertaining, the movies are not. Number 36.
Completely agree.
Movies without Jack Nicholson. I think Jack Nicholson is an actor who could arguably improve any film he is in, even if, and sometimes especially when, he's already in it. Case in point, Mars Attacks.
Science.
Mars Attacks, decent movie until second Jack pops up with the fake nose. Then it becomes a greater movie.
It's science, folks. I'll go a step further for the people who wouldn't watch Mars Attacks. A Few Good Men. That movie is dog shit. But the minute Jack Nicholson is in the beginning of the film and the end of the film, soon as that man walks on screen, eyes glued. I mean, it's fucking amazing. As soon as he's gone, fuck it. I can't think of any film that would be worse with Jack Nicholson.
Exactly.
I can't think of any. I mean, even animated films. Like if you just took like Finding Nemo and just put Jack Nicholson, not animate him, just literally put him in like a fucking animated CGI waterscape. What's your next one, Garth?
Number 37 is Postal not receiving a sequel. That is a movie that I think does deserve a sequel, and I would absolutely watch it. I know you haven't seen Postal yet, but god damn it, you need to. 38, another kind of crossover from your list. Brian De Palma. I just don't like that guy's name.
Did you take note that I said he's one of my favorite filmmakers?
Yeah, I heard you say that, so I was like, it's a kind of crossover.
I mean, he's one of those dudes for me. If he's one of my favorite, we'd have to kind of like debate a film.
Carrie, it's the only one that I care about of his, and it's good.
And I mean, I'm not going to debate that. Of course, I agree. It's a great film.
There you go. Everything after that, you can flush down the toilet, and you can especially flush his goofy ass last name.
I mean, again, it's too vague for me to debate. You'd have to pick one. Like, what do you mean by? Okay, shit.
I just don't like that guy, man, or his name.
All right, fair enough.
Number 39, The Dentist 2.
Never saw it.
I mean, The Dentist 1, great classic horror movie. I listed it in my underrated 90s horror. Dentist 2, dog shit. I was still young and impressionable when I saw it. I was still 10 to 12ish in the VHS days. I
Yeah.
rented it from, I think, Blockbuster. I had loved the first one, rented it from the same Blockbuster. I went home with my copy of 2 and I popped it in and I was just like, what the fuck is this shit?
Wow.
Number 40, Matt Dillon. Yeah, he's done a couple of good movies here, but I mean, just fuck him. Number
I
40,
like Dylan. I like Dylan.
number 41, Kevin Dillon.
Now that I support. Off
He's
with his head.
he's the lesser of the two Dillons.
Yeah. He always has that look on his face like he's fucking confused.
I mean, he probably is. Like, how the fuck did I even get relevant?
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine that though, being a dude, like every time you walk into a room, everyone's perpetually disappointed that it's not your brother?
Like
Shit.
half of the Baldwins as well.
Yeah.
Stephen Baldwin walks into a room, everyone's like, oh
Yeah, no
Christ.
wonder he turned to Jesus, you know? Wow.
Number 42, The Changeling. Like The Exorcist, literally nothing about this fucking movie is horrific or entertaining, in my opinion.
I like The Changeling, but since I went on The Exorcist defense, it's nowhere near The Exorcist to me, so, but I do like it.
I've actually heard people compare the two films before, and other than the fact
It
they're
is.
both from
It's
around the same time, and they're both
Yeah, yeah.
boring, pretentious horror movies.
There's definitely a segment of people, especially of a specific age, I'd say, and it definitely like a sort of critical uh, vibe to the Changeling that I do feel is overrated. But I don't think it's a piece of shit. I think it's a good movie.
Uh, my final choice, and this one is mostly it's mostly based on the title and the disappointment of the film that followed. My 43rd choice, Surf Nazis Must Die. How you can make a film titled Surf Nazis Must Die and make it so fucking incomprehensible and boring, I will never understand. But whoever the fuck made that movie found a way to do it.
That's Trauma too, isn't it?
I mean, they put it out. They had nothing to do with its production. They,
Distributed it.
they saw there was this movie called Surf Nazis Must Die, and they obviously, rationally thought, well, we obviously have to put that out, regardless of what it is. And then, unfortunately, it turned out to be what it is.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I can't.
It's not worth seeing.
Yeah, that's one of those titles where it's like a little. I have to kind of hear someone recommend it because that's one of those titles where it's a little too, you know what I mean, like too cheesy in a sense. I don't know. Like it's surf. Like there's too many kind of like buzzwords there. Surf, Nazis, die. To where it's, I have to hear a good reputation of it, which I never
I will
had.
give the filmmaker credit though. The movie does feature all of those elements, so it's not some piece of shit like Saint
Well,
Elmo's Fire where no saintly figure is immolated.
it delivers on its promise.
Yeah,
So
the
getting
title's
some
not
bonus
just
points on that.
nonsense slapped together.
All right, so I believe that was the conclusion of your list.
Yeah, that was my 43rd and final entry.
Let me
So
go on my notes. The most offensive of your selection, honestly, the most offensive probably was The Exorcist. But
I've never enjoyed that movie. It always, whenever I hear someone that I respect go on like about how great it is,
what I
it
just did,
honestly, yeah, it makes me disappointed. Like I remember, there's
I
I
will
forget who I'm
say,
talking about. There's a couple filmmakers who have referenced like the scariest horror movie of all time, and they've said The Exorcist, and I will just turn off whatever interview it is
I would
because
put.
I just lost my respect for them in there.
I don't know
That
if I can
moment.
say of all time, it would be my top five.
Wow. I've even seen that movie as a child.
So did
Like
yeah,
even
I
as a
did
child,
too.
I watched it and I was just like, "What the fuck is supposed to be
I
scary with
will.
this?" Wow, a face flashes in the
Yeah,
microwave for a second.
let
Ooh.
me let me say this. I'm not surprised you don't like it. And that's not like a dig on you. That's not like a you don't get it thing. I think you completely get it. I think it's just not your cup of tea. And I kind of like the Changeling too. I think those like I said, part of what makes The Exorcist so horrific, I've always said, is that, and I've kind of said this about The Sixth Sense the other day, or on one of the other podcasts, where it's almost it's a drama first, and then what happens it is a horror film. That was what you tried to trip me up on with Sixth Sense, but I'm saying like how it's told, it's drama first, so then when the horrific stuff happens, it's so much more affecting, you know what I mean? um
But why did we
it
need
doesn't
like a
hit you.
15-minute jogging scene with the priest?
Dude, it's been a while. I don't remember what
The
scene you're
movie
referencing.
just takes fucking forever to get
Was it
going.
an exposition scene? I
I
don't
don't
recall.
remember. He's jogging, and then someone comes up to him like, "Hey, father, whatever. You want to go get some whatever?" I don't remember what's happening, but it's like near the beginning. The
I mean,
girl's in the basement playing around, and then it cuts to the preacher just jogging forever, and it's just like, get to the fucking point, dude.
yeah, I suppose. I mean, Friedkin definitely wasn't aiming to make a genre picture with it. I think you know what I mean. It was. I mean, I'm sure you have, even though you're not a fan of the film. You're like me. You enjoy watching behind the scenes stuff. We grew up watching this kind of stuff. You know how I was always kind of shocked when Friedkin came out and said like how devout of a Catholic he is, and that he said that that is why the movie. He said no, a person who does not believe couldn't make that movie. And I never really thought about it that way. And it kind of made me appreciate it even more, even though I hate Catholicism and religion in general. Like I said, as far as a fictional work of art, I do agree with him. I think if I made that movie, I would treat it as a joke, you know.
See, I
And
think that would have improved the film.
see, I don't. I think the conviction of it is what makes the film special. And
And that's also probably why, to me, it just feels like a visit to church. It feels like I'm
exactly,
spending two
yeah,
hours
and
in
that's what I'm
fucking
saying.
church.
And again, I think that's also not like it's weird to fault the film for that when that's the intention of the film. You know what I mean? But I understand why you don't like it. But whatever. Let's get the fuck off The Exorcist. Tourist Trap. Huh? What? Are you
I've
insane?
suffered
I
through it
could
one
even
time in
I could have
total.
sworn you even like this movie.
No, I said that it is surprising to be PG, but I never said it was good. I
That
don't
isn't.
enjoy the movie at all.
Oh, what the even the look? You don't appreciate
Not
the look?
really, no.
I mean, I know it doesn't quite have that
The look
soft
is a
focus, but
cheap
it's closer to it than like a lot of other things. It doesn't have that.
full screen DVD that Charles Band printed out off a cheaper VHS rip. So no, I do not enjoy the look of the film.
See, I do. I think it's clever. I think the fact that it's PG and how it manages, I find that film scary, and I'm surprised. Just the dolls, the way it's utilized, the lighting. Tanya Roberts, I do have a huge crush on Tanya Roberts. That may help, but dude, what? Seriously? That bad? There's not worse.
Nothing memorable or good about it, and I paid
You don't think it
too
was
fucking
effective? You
much
don't
for
think?
the DVD.
Or maybe that. You don't think it was effectively creepy though, like the way they did the dolls and.
I thought the opening like 5 minutes was decent, but that was 100% just because it was reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw. Then once it was just the oh yeah, I'm down here at my shop, old guy in a shop bit, I don't care at all. I don't like that actor. I don't care about anything he's doing. I don't care about the chicks.
You know, it's another movie. You just said Texas Chainsaw, and I know you don't like this one either. And I kind of like this and Tourist Trap. I feel similarly about the Funhouse. I love that too, and I know you
The
don't like
Funhouse is
that.
just disappointing as fuck.
It's the same kind of thing where it's almost like I like how it has that almost TCM type feel, but it's also kind of like for kids in a way. I don't know. I like that. I think that's cool. Like I think that I don't know. I dig that for like kids and shit.
The Funhouse seems like the movie Rob Zombie is always trying to make.
Exactly. And it's good. Rob Zombie can't do it.
I don't
But
know
yeah.
about that good comment,
Uh,
but
alright.
it seems to have all the elements of a Rob Zombie film in it. It's like the proto Rob Zombie film. Isn't there like an incest angle between the deformed dude and his mom?
Some shit like that. Yeah,
There's that.
when they're like spying on him over
There's
top, they do
carnies. There's
sex and
clowns. There's murder.
yeah.
It's pretty much got all the elements of a Rob Zombie movie. Sans horrible Rob Zombie music. That's probably the one thing that gives it the heads up above Rob Zombie films. Is you don't have to hear Rob Zombie screaming "yeah" 47 times over John Five's guitars.
No, it's just Toby Hooper does that good. He did it well. Rob Zombie sucks. That's all it really is.
It's funny that you're praising Toby Hooper now that you also listed Life
Life
Force.
Force, I know, I do, because it is. But again, I'm not big on. I'm a much bigger horror guy than I am sci-fi, and Life Force. I do believe if you take out the naked brunette that's like in the first hour of the movie, most guys wouldn't give two shits about that movie.
Toby Hooper is a filmmaker who he's made one of my all-time favorite movies of all time, and then he made a really good sequel of it. And in my opinion, he never made another movie worthy of ever watching.
I was just about to say, I think I'm probably a bigger fan of him than you are, but you probably like Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies more than I do.
Yeah.
And that says a lot because the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a 10 out of 10 for me. Um, but yeah, Funhouse, Eaten Alive.
Oh, I forgot about Eaten Alive. Eaten Alive is also
Um,
solid. Fuck, I
yeah,
always forgot about
yeah.
that.
Let's say that's like you love that kind of stuff. That's like an
You know, he was
alligator and
inspired
everything.
by the Wizard of Oz on that shoot.
What?
When they were
Oh
shooting on
wait,
a
don't
sound,
they?
they
Oh,
were
no, I'm
shot
thinking.
on a sound stage, and he intentionally used like goofy lighting and shit for some shots to reference the Wizard of Oz because he was shooting on a sound stage.
No, I didn't know that.
Like
But
they
when you
built the
said that,
entire house in a fucking stage, and then you would go in and they had like their fake creek with their fake gator and shit.
that's kind of awesome. That it definitely looks like it's shot on a goddamn stage.
I guess also at one point he just had a lion backstage for some fucking reason. I don't know why. And I guess Marilyn Burns went and opened the door and like just walked in on this lion and was like, "Oh
Oh,
fuck," and then
yeah,
quickly vacated that room.
two things about that. That I do know had Robert Englund in it. I'm not
Yeah,
sure about
that was
Hatchet.
one of if not his first film roles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'd have been. What was Eaten Alive? Like 77, 78?
I believe it was 76, but I'm probably
Oh,
wrong.
was it really? Was it before that?
I don't
Uh,
know.
yeah, that's a solid flick though, dude. I like that. Salem's Lot's great. Well,
Salem's Lot
great.
is
It's good.
boring. It's
I was
any
about to say
movie that's
that.
over 3 hours. I fucking hate it on principle. No
Nah,
movie needs to be
solid.
that long.
It's
If you go back 100 years ago and watch the classic Universal monster movies, Frankenstein, Dracula, fucking Bride of Frankenstein, Creature from Black Lagoon, none of them are over 90 minutes. None of them fucking needed to be. The horror movies of today aren't getting more complex. They're just getting more tedious. They're just adding in more fucking pointless filler. And then, I don't know where I'm going with this, but everything is too fucking long nowadays. Everyone's attention span's gotten shorter, but somehow all the movies have tripled in length.
I agree. I mean, you can't really fault Salem's Lot for that. It was meant to be a mini series though, but
Yeah.
I completely agree with the rant. And actually, Hooper's run times, even something like Funhouse, which you hate, they're not like epic. They're all under 90 minutes. Fucking Life Force. Actually, Life Force is over 2 hours. That's the one that is the worst, I think, time wise for him. I could be completely off on that. I do know Life Force is long, but yeah, what? So, well, yeah, I got Salem's Lot, Funhouse, Texas Chainsaw 2, uh, Eaten Alive. Damn, that's five right there. I'll give
A
him
third
credit.
of Poltergeist.
Yeah. Even Poltergeist, I don't know. I said that's overrated. Be different if it was Poltergeist 3. But
Any other films you took note of?
nah, I think that's about it.
That's all you took umbrage with? Those three or four choices?
And there were some other ones, but I'm looking at them now, and like, I mean, I could defend Woody Allen, but who cares? I could point out some Morgan Freeman films I like, but who cares? Matt Dillon, vastly superior to Kevin Dillon,
But still extremely disappointing.
but still a Dillon.
I mean,
No, I like
Matt
Matt.
Dillon was even disappointing next to Ben Stiller and Something About Mary.
No, he was honestly, he's the only thing I like, and there's something about Mary. He's one of the only. He's like when I think about that movie, and I'm not a huge fan of that film, but he was the funniest thing in it to me.
I always liked Chris Elliott as Woogie or whatever. Spoiler.
Yeah, the Harlan Williams part too.
Yeah, Harlan Williams. Anytime Harlan Williams appears in a movie, it's generally going to be great. Like Freddy Got Fingered, Half Baked, Dumb and Dumber. Like, dude is solid.
Yeah, and on that note, I think we're gonna have to wrap this one up for the day.
So, Yeah, we don't have any real plans for future episodes, but we might go again with this ridiculous 43 list because at the very least, it takes up a good amount of time to get through, 86 movies
That is very true.
or items.
It's very true. Let us know. Should we keep going or should we dead ourselves?
Should we go back to just the top 3 and just rant for 35 minutes about each?
Yes, let us know. Let us know. But it's been real, my friend. Until next time, this is whatever our podcast name is, signing out.
Emilio is dead.
Emilio is dead.